Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. The Reddit Fantasy Bingo Challenge just dropped at the beginning of the month, and so for the past few days I've been looking at recommendations on the Reddit site, looked at a couple of TBR videos and also combed through my bookshelves to come up with my potential TBR for the year. And so I have everything compiled in my little companion notebook with all my options, and so without further ado, let's look into it. If you're not familiar, the Reddit Fantasy Bingo Challenge is a reading challenge that's been going on for quite a few years now, and so every year they come up with a bingo board with 25 prompts that you need to complete reading some sort of speculative fiction book during the year. It runs from April 1st to March 31st of the following year, and so we are just started for 2026. Each prompt also has a hard mode option, but this challenge is already a bit of a stretch because you can't repeat books, you can't repeat authors either, so you need to read quite widely with this challenge, and so I'm not going to be concerned with hard mode because just the regular bingo board is already a little bit of a stretch. So now let's look at the prompts. The first one is trans or non-binary protagonist, and for this one it was a very easy pick. I am planning to read Espiritu by Aiden Thomas, which is coming up at some point, I think in September. This is the sequel to Cemetery Boys, which is a book I read for November, I think in 2024, and absolutely loved. It was such a great surprise. It features a trans main character, also has some neurodivergence representation, and it's a lovely YA fantasy book. And so I'm really excited to be following the main characters into their new adventure. Next, we have judge a book by its title. And so the idea is just to find a book with a title that intrigues you so much that you feel like you absolutely have to read, or a title that's so out there that you really need to understand why that is the title for the book. For this one, I think I will go with something that is already on my shelf, and as much as possible, I'm trying to prioritize books that are on my shelves. So for this one, I will go with There Is No Anti-Memetics Division, because it's such an intriguing title. Next, we have a translated book, and this one was also fairly easy. I started a SFF book club in my area a couple of months ago, and the book that we're going to read next month is Moribito. This is a fantasy novel translated from the Japanese, and so this one was already kind of chosen for me and I'm quite excited. Then for small press or self-published, I am planning to read a self-published book by one of my writer friends. So I have a couple of options, but I might go for the one that I have a physical copy of, which is The Emperor's Assassin by Shelby Oval. Then we have Unusual Transportation. I am currently close to finishing The Will of the Many by James Islington, and in this book they use what they call transvects, which are kind of big transportation things that kind of float in the air like a aerial ferry in a way, and these are powered by will, which is the source of the magic system in this world. So I think this would definitely count for unusual transportation. I was hoping to use it for kind of a big book prompt that will come later, but I think it might be safer to go for unusual transportation because I feel I'm less likely to find that in another book. Next, we have a prompt around the afterlife. And so for this one, I think I might go with a book that was on my anticipated releases for 2026 list, and that is Nightshade and Oak, where the goddess of death, by some kind of wayward spell, was turned human, and she needs the help of another, I think a warrior or a knight or something like that, to help her return to the realm of the dead. And it's apparently kind of sapphic, romancy, and the concept sounds really intriguing to me, so I might go for this one for this. Next prompt is game changer, where you need to have some kind of game or competition or trial in the book. This one I was thinking of trying out The Raven Scholar because I've heard so many people rave about this book and find it excellent and it sounds intriguing. So that's an option. Another option could be Gideon the Ninth. I've heard some people mention that it would fit for this prompt. So that's also an option because it's been on my TBR for a very long time. I do have an ebook for it, but I don't have a physical copy, so we will see. Next is vacation spot, and so this is likely to vary from person to person, but it needs to be a book set in a world that you would love to vacation in and love to visit. So for this one, I don't have anything set yet. I think I will probably decide as I read a book that might fit this to put it in for it. But I'm thinking for a lot of people, maybe Mothblood by Lin Jung could work because it's set in Paris and I think a lot of people would love to visit Paris. I was born in Paris, I lived a good chunk of my life there, so I don't really consider it a vacation spot. So that's still an open spot. We will see how that goes. Then for 5 short stories, I already have a short story collection planned to be reading this summer with, again, my local book club, and that is Stories of Your Life and Others. I don't typically read short stories, so I'm glad I already have that on the calendar because otherwise I would be probably struggling a little bit to find something I'm excited to read. Then for older protagonist, I've decided to put The Art of Prophecy on my list. It's something I have on my shelves, and I know that there is a kind of mentor older female character in this book. So I think it would fit perfectly, and I'm glad to be crossing off a book from my physical shelves as well. Duology part 1, so you have to read the first book in a duology. That I'm considering Strange the Dreamer because I've heard many good things about it, and also The Night Ends with Fire because I mean, a Mulan retelling sounds very good. The cover of the first book looks amazing as well, and so yeah, I've been curious about this one, and I think it would be a good excuse or a good opportunity for me to finally read it. Then you have the Reddit Fantasy Book Club or Read Along Book. So basically the Reddit Fantasy has been running, I think, quite a few book clubs along the years. And so there is a whole list of books that you can pick to fit this prompt. I think you get like the hard mode if you actually participate in the book club live, but for the simple regular challenge you don't have to do that. So you can read a book that's from a previous year and a previous book club discussion. So for me, I would be very excited to read Jade City because I know that Cat at the Cat Bite love the series. It sounds really intriguing. It sounds very good. I've only heard good things. So I would be quite intrigued to read that one. But I do have The Spear Cut Through Water on my shelves, and this was also on the list. So I might go for this one as well. Published in 2026, I do have plenty of options. I made a video recently about my most anticipated releases for 2026, and there were quite a few sci-fi and fantasy books on there. So again, Mothblood by Lin Jung, A Snake Among Swans by Hannah Kanner, or Theodora's Teashop by Christian Jones are things that come to mind. So I think I have plenty of options for this one. Explorers and Rangers, so one of your main characters needs to be an explorer or a ranger. I have 2 options for this. The Gods of the Weird Wood could be an option. I don't have it on my shelf. I've been eyeing it in bookshops for a while because I think it could be a comp for the book that I'm currently writing as well. But also I feel somehow a bit intimidated by it. So the other option is The Martian by Andy Weir because I have already the audiobook for it. And just like, what is more exploring than going to space? So yeah, those are the 2 options that I have. The next prompt is Duology Part 2. And so you just need to read a second book in a duology. As I mentioned in the beginning, normally you're not supposed to use the same book for several prompts. Like you need one prompt is one book for the challenge, and also you're not supposed to repeat authors either, but this is the exception. For this one, you could be reading the second book in the duology that you started. So it may be the follow-up to Stranger Dreamer or the follow-up to The Night Ends with Fire. We will see what I end up picking for this one. One word title, I do have a few options. On my shelves, I do have Dragon's Bane and I do have Melmoth. And then I do have an arc for Sublimation, which is a sci-fi debut novel, I believe, about immigration and just like leaving a part of yourself behind when you leave for a new country, which sounds excellent, so I might pick that one. And then for the next prompt, non-human protagonist, I think this is finally the year that I get to read the Murder Bot series, or at least the first book in the series. So I'm very excited for that. Middle grade was not the prompt I was the most excited about. I don't typically read a lot of middle grade, and the few ones that I've read in recent years, I did not really end up liking. So I'm a bit nervous about this one, but I do have a French middle grade fantasy book on my shelf and also on my 26 for 2026 list. This is this bad boy here, like that thick teal book. It's The Quest of a Villain by Pierre Bottero. This is a French novel that was published a little bit over 20 years ago. Apparently was a huge success. I somehow managed to miss it, but my bookseller friend compared it to Harry Potter in terms of popularity in France. And so this edition was released for the 20-year anniversary of that book. And it sounds quite fun. I did grow up with Harry Potter, so I would be curious to read something in that kind of same vibe or same vein. So I'm curious about it. I don't know if it's been translated into English. I've seen a book in English, but apparently it might be a graphic novel instead. So I will be reading it in French. Then for First Contact, I'm a bit less excited about that prompt as well, but some options I have is Leviathan Wakes, which is the first book in the series The Expanse. I did gift a box set to my husband a few years ago that he still hasn't read. I'm very mad about it. No, I'm joking. But he does have that on his shelf, so I might borrow the first book to meet this prompt. Or an alternative could be The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. Then for murder mystery, so a book including some kind of murder in the story, there's actually quite some overlap with the Game Changer prompt, because I could be reading The Raven Scholar or Gideon on the Ninth. So it's nice because the one I don't read for that prompt, I could read the other for this one. But on my shelves, I also have the Tainted Cup, which I think would be perfect for this. So that's a good option, especially if I want to prioritize my own physical TBR. Cat Squasher is a book over 500 pages. And so that's why I was hoping to count The Will of the Many for it, but I think I will use for Unusual Transportation. So on my shelves, I do have a few cat squashers. I do have Gods of Men, which is a fantasy novel around music. I do have the French translation for it, and it's quite thick. I do have House of Leaves, which is also on my 26 for 2026 list, a book that I'm quite intimidated by because it seems to be quite experimental, more of an experience than anything else. And someone mentioned that it was also kind of leaning towards horror, and I don't normally read horror, so I'm even more nervous now. And then I think the ultimate cat squasher, I think this one would also count for Hard Mode, which I think is a book that's over 900 pages, is Alchemized. My husband got me a beautiful edition for Christmas at the end of last year, and so I think it would be a good pick to read. But also, I don't typically read dark romance, and so I have to say I'm nervous. It's also, I think, over 1,000 pages long. So yeah, that would be an undertaking. So we will see which one I end up picking for this. The next prompt is Feast Your Eyes on This. And you're supposed to pick a book where food or meal is particularly important to the story. And I was really surprised to see this book recommended 3 times on the Reddit forum, but Sourdough by Ruben Sloan was mentioned. And the reason I was really surprised is because I thought that this would be straight up like contemporary literature, contemporary fiction. But apparently there is some elements of magical realism, a little bit of sci-fi I've heard. And so that's a book that's been on my shelf. And so I'm extremely pleased to be able to put it on my TBR for this challenge. Next we have published in the 70s. So for the previous challenge we had published in the 80s. So it looks like we are slowly making our way the different decades. I do struggle a little bit with that, to be honest, because I'm not usually gravitating that much with those kind of older books. Also, I probably should, because I'm sure there are great kind of classic sci-fi and fantasy novels that I would enjoy. So I've looked up what I could be reading for this, and some options that I've marked down are Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice, Kindred by Octavia E. Butler, and then The Dispossessed by Ursula K. Le Guin. Again, I need to be careful because I don't want to use the same author, and I already had an option from her on First Contact, so we'll see. Okay, almost there. We have Politics in Court Intrigue. For this, I had quite a few options on my shelf. I do have A Language of Dragons, which features some kind of civil war and political tensions. I also have 10 Incarnations of Rebellion by Vaishnavi Patel, which is an alternate history of what might have happened if the British never left India. So definitely counting for politics. And I do also have The Children of Gods and Fighting Men, I believe the full title, by Shona Lawless. I've heard Jessica from Jessica's Library Card kind of rave about this book, and I think it would also very much fit. I'm also very tempted to read Jade City again, that I mentioned for another prompt. I don't have it on my shelf, so it should probably not be the book that I pick up, but I really want to read it. So I've also put it on my possible options for this prompt. And then the final prompt is Author of Color. And for this, I have two books that I would be especially excited to pick up. The first one is The Jasmine Throne. And then we have Legend Board, which is the first book in a YA series that people have been absolutely loving. So I'm also quite curious. So there you have it. Those are all the options I'm considering reading this year for the Reddit Fantasy Bingo Challenge. Let me know in the comments if you are considering participating and what books you're planning to read. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.